is running out. It's now 10 past 11 and my cursor's hovering over the declare war button. 1 month of suffering has led to this moment. If I lose now, then everything I've done was meaningless. How did I get here? Well, to explain that, we need to go back to the beginning. As you know, my channel is built on completing very hard and time-consuming HOI4 challenges, but even after everything I've accomplished, I'm still unsatisfied. That's because I've always had one goal on my mind that I haven't completed: getting all 211 achievements. It's something that most players take months, if not years, to complete, but I'm not most players. I've decided to push myself and get them all in just 30 days. I removed all my achievements, so I start from scratch. This will be one hell of a month, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. The clock starts now. Oh, and this video is sponsored by War Thunder. I was a bit overwhelmed at first, since I had so many achievements to choose from, but I thought it would be best to unlock one of the more difficult ones at the beginning, when I was fresh. So the initial playthrough was as Tanu Tuva, with the aim to get Siberian Tiger, which required that I formed Siberia. Let's begin. I don't have the time to cover every playthrough in detail, otherwise the video would be way too long, so let's skip right to the action. I joined Germany in hopes they would help me against the Soviet Union, but they did even worse than I could have imagined and collapsed. My plan went to shit and I was left stranded with no hopes of winning. I still got the first 3 achievements of the challenge: a friend in need, no country for old men, and we'll build it in a day. Despite that, I was unsatisfied. I didn't get what I was hoping for, so I restarted, but it ended the same way. Germany fell and I was left with nothing after another 2 hours. I played for a total of 4 hours, but didn't reach my goal. I couldn't let this be my start, so a 3rd try was made. This time, I switched to non-historical for a different approach. I thought it would be a good idea to get Shibei-san Ma as a puppet. Things looked good until they joined China and White pissed. Just 13 minutes into the playthrough, my plans were destroyed again, and I knew it was hopeless. I was frustrated and decided to put this achievement off for later. What I didn't know then was that Tanu Tuva and me weren't done yet. Far from it, in fact, but that story will come later. I switched to Italy for something easier, just to get some momentum. I rushed level 5 railroads in every state, unlocking at least a run on time. This helped me realize that not every achievement would be difficult. We just got off to a bad start. Let's see if we can turn that around. I wanted the first day to be big, so I planned a big game where I tried to get as many achievements as possible. I chose to play as Hungary to get one of the more difficult achievements, Miklos Horthy and the Habsburg Prince, early on. I started off by taking Austria by force and then peacefully annexing Czechoslovakia. Things were going smoothly, but I forgot to sign a non-aggression pact with Germany, so when they demanded the Sudetenland, war broke out. I managed to hold because of the forts, but I couldn't push forward, so I used the industry from Austria and Czechoslovakia to start producing tanks. And then Germany declared war on Luxembourg, which dragged the Allies in. Because of this, I could join the Allies to secure an achievement later. Once my tanks were ready, I started pushing, and during the process, my spy got killed, which unlocked "You will never kill me alive." Eventually, Germany capitulated, giving me "this time it will stick." I then invaded Yugoslavia, which started a war with the Allies. I didn't realize Poland had joined them, so I had to desperately rush my divisions to defend. Not a great start to a war. Even though I pushed into Yugoslavia successfully, I had to stop due to a naval invasion. I defeated it, and Yugoslavia capitulated. But just then, another invasion landed, which I barely managed to defeat. Then the Netherlands joined the Allies. I was stretched very thin, but I still managed to take them down. And then I pushed into Romania, which surrendered quickly, and then into Poland. However, I kept getting interrupted by naval invasions. I pushed a bit, and then a naval invasion appeared, so I had to divert my tanks. And then I got tunnel vision. A huge naval invasion landed in Yugoslavia. When I became aware, it had already spread a lot. Poland capitulated, but I had lost so much territory from the naval invasion. I did get better than Sven Istvan at least. I tried to paradrop into France, and it almost worked, but I could only send 2 paratroopers due to the lack of air superiority. This made me realize I needed a stronger air force, so I researched better air technology and diverted production. When Belgium joined the Allies, I had to push into France. Things were going very well at first. France even capitulated, but right after that, 2 big naval invasions landed in both Germany and France, trapping my army. I rage quit at this point, thinking there was no hope, but after a break, I came back with a clear mind and decided to retreat from France instead of trying to hold on to it. As a result, I saved most of my divisions. Once I was back in control, I used my new modern tanks and air force to turn things around. When everything was stable, I launched a paradrop into the UK and were surprised to find out they were completely undefended, and I took them down easily. The United States was the last major, but since I didn't have a navy, they were virtually untouchable, so I had to build one from scratch. It was slow, but while waiting I was able to get some achievements. Eventually, I could get naval supremacy and invade the United States. Victory was close, or so I thought. Out of nowhere, Chile became a major, so I was forced to defeat them. But then came Brazil. No problem, I thought. Just when I thought I could take a break, China became a major. Things like this make me genuinely hate this game. After what seemed like an eternity, the war ended and I finally got the territories I needed. Miklos Horthy and the Habsburg Prince was mine. And before quitting, I invaded Argentina to get 2 more achievements, bringing us up to 12 achievements in one game. It was a tough journey, but a great start to the challenge. 16 achievements and 15 intense hours. The setbacks at the beginning were disappointing, but the Hungary game made up for them. No time to rest. The clock continues to tick. There are still 29 days and 195 achievements remaining. It's only going to get harder from here. On day 2, I woke up feeling great and I returned to Italy for some more achievements. Let's begin. I started by researching a bunch of navy stuff, then invaded Austria to lay the groundwork for Nothing Personal Adolf. Then jumping ahead a bit to 1938, I invaded France with the initial goal of defeating them quickly. But I got convoy raided and the supply issues led to a stalemate. It lasted until Germany came and saved me in 1939. By 1940, my navy was comparable to the British, so I started engaging them in the Mediterranean. With each battle, my confidence increased, and when I sank their pride of the fleet, I secured pride and extreme prejudice. With the Allied fleet weakened, I ended up in the UK and defeated them. Now, to actually get some achievements, I sent my army to Colombia. From there, I launched an invasion into the United States, capturing New York, Chicago and Hawaii for pizza time. And then I nuked Los Angeles for Deuce Nukem. 5 hours, 4 achievements. It wasn't as many as yesterday, but it's alright. We're still ahead of schedule with 20 achievements. I'm feeling great. Before we get into day 3, I want to tell you about the sponsor of this video, War Thunder. If you for some reason don't know, it's the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made. Available for free on PC, consoles and mobile. In War Thunder, you jump into the most powerful war machines ever built. Pick from over 2,500 vehicles, from fast jets and tanks to deadly helicopters and massive ships. Fight with military vehicles from 10 different countries that span from the 1920s to modern times. One of War Thunder's standout features that I absolutely love is its damage system. Each vehicle has detailed components like engines, fuel tanks and weapons. When you're hit, you see exactly what a shell did thanks to the detailed X-ray feature. And unlike HOI4, you don't need a NASA supercomputer to run it. Even if your PC is prehistoric, there's a good chance it'll run fine. The game puts you right in the action. The vehicles are incredibly detailed, the graphics are realistic, and the sound effects are authentic. When you play, you're fully immersed. You will play War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox or mobile using my link in the pinned comment or description. New players and those who haven't played in 6 months will get a massive bonus pack that includes some premium vehicles, the exclusive vehicle decorator Eagle of Valor, 100,000 silver lions and 7 days of a premium account. This offer is only available for a limited time, so get it now before you miss it. Okay, let's get into day 3. I couldn't get enough of Italy, so I continued on day 3 with the aim of forming the Roman Empire and getting all achievements tied to that. I started a game and immediately made peace with Ethiopia, so I could go down the Pope path. After researching paratroopers, I declared war on Romania, which brought France into the war. I paradropped them, and boom, they capitulated. Then I declared war on Belgium, which the UK guaranteed, so I paradropped them too, but left London for later to keep the war going. I continued and declared war on a lot of miners. After taking London, the war ended and I got everything in the peace conference, except Spain and Poland, but they didn't last long. To collect all Romes, I invaded the Soviet Union. My infantry was unable to push, so I just built CAS, which helped tremendously, and I was able to capture Moscow. The Soviet Union capitulated and I formed the Roman Empire. After like an hour of AFK, I got the Pope in power, giving me Holy Roman and an empire. I then released and defeated the Soviet Union again. For Stalin, how many guns does he have? With only one Italian achievement left, I started a new game where I went communist and just moved down the focus tree. It wasn't that exciting, just a quick civil war, but finishing all Italian achievements felt really good. The rest of the day was spent on a failed Australia run where I wasn't able to paradrop Hungary, a Belgium game where I was able to paradrop, but into France, which gave me 50 factories. Then the remaining time was spent on multiple restarts as France, where I tried to get invaded by Germany, but I didn't get lucky. By the end of the day I was a bit tired, but I could manage one more game. I rushed the UK as fascist France and got one final achievement for the day. One achievement might not seem like much now, but it can have a massive impact on later days. I got 6 achievements, bringing us up to 26. With how it's going, I feel confident that I'll succeed with this challenge. By now I was fully committed to the challenge, but 3 solid days wasn't enough. If I was going to succeed, I needed to ramp up the pace. 7 achievements or more per day, no exceptions. Today I was aiming for over 10. I continued with France, beginning by building destroyers, putting Napoleon in charge and rushing down the Benelux and the UK. After that early victory, I was very strong, but out of nowhere, Germany came knocking. I thought I was prepared, but no. My defenses collapsed almost instantly, sending me into a desperate retreat. No matter what I did, I couldn't reorg, and as a result, my country was destined to fall. I thought about restarting, but I had already spent a lot of time on this playthrough. I couldn't give up. I won't let a fail slow down the momentum we're having. So in a last-ditch effort, I designed a tank and poured everything I had into its production. It was my only hope for survival. I was in complete disarray, so I set up a fallback line in a more defensible position, hoping it would give my divisions a chance to reorg, but hope quickly disappeared as it broke too. With the majority of my industry lost, I could only slow down the inevitable and pray my tank would come soon. Just one more lost city away from capitulation. I finally got a lucky break. Germany declared war on the Soviet Union, and the pressure lifted. For the first time in a while, I had hope. In addition to that, my tank was ready, and with it, I began the slow process of taking back my country. Bit by bit, I reversed my surrender progress. After a few encirclements, I had put the German army in disarray and retaken my country. It was my turn to serve Germany a dose of their own medicine. Italy fell first, and soon after, Germany followed. The hardest part was behind me. Now, if I could just hold out until 1948 and take Moscow, I would get 2 more achievements. So I declared war and pushed into the Soviet Union. And Moscow was mine soon after, and it was past 1948. 5 achievements in one game wasn't bad, but no time to celebrate. The day is far from over, and the list of remaining achievements is still huge. I followed up with a standard Soviet game, and it paid off. After defeating the Axis, completing a spy mission with a British and French spy, activating a lot of propaganda campaigns, and reaching 1945 without losing a single tile, I had completed another 5 achievements. Day 4 had already been a giant success, with 10 achievements, but I had just enough time to squeeze in one more game. I jumped into Greece with the goal of getting all Byzantine Empire achievements. I started by trying to rush Turkey, but 15 minutes in, I got naval invaded. I restarted. This time I made sure to guard my ports and build up my air force. With CAS, I had a big advantage, and soon enough I was encircling Turkish divisions repeatedly. When their army was mostly depleted, I pushed across the Bosporus Strait, sealing the victory. Forming the Byzantine Empire was huge. 3 achievements unlocked instantly, but just as I was about to let out a sigh of relief, Italy declared war. Just having completed one war, I wasn't prepared for another. Nonetheless, I rushed to secure Albania for another achievement, and then set my sights on Sicily. Lucky for me, Italy hadn't put out their fleet, so I landed on the beaches and moved further up into Italy. Just as I was gaining momentum, the Soviet Union also declared war. Having a direct border, I needed to hold out against the entire Soviet army while fending off Italy. I was able to hold against both until the naval invasion started. With barely enough divisions to cover my front lines, my position became increasingly unstable, but I kept pushing in Italy, and just as their defenses were starting to fall apart, I ran out of convoys, and everything came to a stop. Then, to make things worse, Germany declared war and crushed Yugoslavia, opening a new front against me. My divisions were stretched to their limit, and I had no choice but to abandon Greece. And then the Soviets landed a huge naval invasion. I could feel the pressure building, and I was running out of options. With just a few under-equipped divisions, I focused on taking the Soviet port. It wasn't easy, but after a long struggle, I finally managed to capture it. That was one problem out of the way. I knew I needed something more, so I started building tanks as fast as I could. They were my only hope, and after holding out for what felt like forever, I finally deployed them. With the tanks leading the charge, I took back Greece. Things were finally turning around. After pushing forward and taking all of France, I headed into Germany. With one big push, the Axis finally surrendered. It felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. But the Soviets were still right there on my border. Using the tanks and CAS I could build with my new factories, I managed to fight them off. And I unlocked the final achievement of the day. 15 achievements in one day. 13.5 hours of non-stop action. This is exactly what I hoped for. It sets a high bar for the following days, but I was confident that the success would continue. 7 achievements after 11 hours of gameplay, giving us a total of 48 achievements. We're making really good progress. Playing for such long amounts of time might sound tiring, but checking achievements off the list is so incredibly satisfying that you forget about time. I could easily continue like this for the remaining days. Day 6 started off strong with 2 quick achievements as Poland. Habsburgs everywhere and Poland Peasant Revolution. The momentum carried into Romania, where I got 1 achievement. This was followed by a failed Communist China run, because everything can't go well, I guess. Then I played a France game where I formed the Little Entente and defeated Germany. After that, I started a huge United Kingdom game, where I joined the Axis and defeated France, decrypted all Axis members, got into a war with Canada, built 9 battle cruisers, puppeted the USA and released Scotland. Finally, just before the day ended, I created the Imperial Federation. This game netted us 6 achievements. 11 achievements in just over 11 hours. The momentum is real. With 59 achievements completed so far, I might just finish ahead of schedule. Picking up where I left off as the UK, I focused on completing a world conquest for the One Empire achievement. After securing Arabia, I deployed 30 camel divisions, getting an achievement. And soon after that, the world conquest was completed, and the One Empire achievement was mine. With that behind me, I could do a bunch of random achievements. Building a railroad from Gibraltar to Singapore, several formable nation achievements, and then just releasing a bunch of puppets, which gave me 2 achievements. And then I finished the game by securing production licenses from 5 majors. After that intense UK run, I needed a break. So I played an easier Germany game and got 4 achievements without much effort. Then I finished the day on a high note with a Mexico playthrough, where I managed to defeat the USA. 13 achievements in just 6 hours. It felt like I was flying. With 72 achievements in total, I'd already completed more than a third of the challenge, and I was well ahead of schedule. The margin of safety was growing, but I knew the harder achievements were still ahead. The day started rough. 3 hours wasted on Japan, with nothing to show for it. It was frustrating. All that effort was for nothing. But once I regained momentum, the achievements started falling into place. I quickly wrapped up the remaining Greece achievements. Then I played as China, beating Japan and puppeting Yunnan and Guangxi clique, then annexing them. Staying in Asia, I started a game as Communist China. It wasn't easy, but after taking control of all of China and building up 100 military factories, I had unlocked every Communist China achievement. Since I was on a roll, I figured I'd go for the Guangxi achievements next. Once again, I faced off against China and Japan. It was mostly the same as the previous game, but it was still very satisfying to check those achievements off the list. And the day wasn't over yet. I jumped into an Argentina game, getting Hitler as leader and taking the Falkland Islands. From there, I declared war on Brazil while being allied with Uruguay, and slowly but surely, I took control of nearly all of Latin America, except Bolivia. The day ended with 1 final achievement, securing every Amazonian state. After 11 hours, I added 14 achievements to the counter. With 84 achievements, I was 40% done. I felt unstoppable. Tomorrow, I plan to keep the momentum going and see just how far I could push it. The past week had been a series of successes, and that would hopefully continue today. The goal was a full world conquest as Brazil, while getting as many achievements as possible along the way. Let's see how it goes. I started by moving straight down the communist branch of the focus tree, causing a civil war. After a quick victory, I improved my army and focused on the rest of South America. I expanded very fast, until Ecuador ruined my plans by joining the Axis. I had planned to deal with them much later, but now I had no choice. My South American expansion stopped, and I moved my army to North Africa after joining the Allies. My aim was to paradrop Rome to get snakes on a plane. First, I dropped into Sicily to get within range of Rome. I faced fierce resistance, but my paratroopers landed successfully, giving me the first achievement of the day. I expanded the beachhead. Italy capitulated, and I continued straight into Germany. The Axis were defeated. I had been playing for 2.5 hours by this point, and I only had one achievement to show for it. I needed to pick up the pace, so I continued by going straight into the Soviet Union, defeating them. Following that up with defeating Germany again, and finally the achievements started rolling in. I took leadership of the Allies, kicking France from the faction and defeating them. Then I deployed 30 bicycle divisions and continued my expansion to the UK. Their capitulation was followed by an invasion of the USA, with my promoted field officer reaching level 9 and Portugal under my control. The final achievement of the day came as I secured all of South America. 9 hours, 9 achievements. The momentum is undeniable at this point. I'm actually surprised we haven't had a bad day yet. Playing 10 hours per day while going to school should be more painful than this. I mean, I'm certainly tired, but it hasn't hit hard yet. Up until now, the achievements had been unlocked with ease, but today, something changed. The exhaustion hit. Physically and mentally, I was drained. I found myself making small mistakes and zoning out, and the anxiety increased as the easier achievements were behind me, and the hardest were yet to come. All I wanted was to rest, but any downtime could mean failing the challenge. I could only manage 2 games today. First, I wrapped up the Brazil playthrough, finally completing the world conquest. But I didn't feel anything. The joy of checking achievements off the list had completely disappeared. Then, with what little energy I had left, I did a monarchist Germany run, scraping together 3 more achievements. Today I needed to slow down. After the grind of the past few days, I could only manage 5 hours, and even that felt like a struggle. Somehow, I unlocked 4 achievements. It wasn't much, but at least I kept the challenge alive, and maybe a slower day was what I needed to reset. I woke up today with low expectations. The long hours of grinding, combined with the demands of school, had taken their toll. Mentally, I was on the edge, and my confidence had started to decrease. Today's goal was simple: just keep going. Any progress, no matter how small, would be a win. I began playing with Canada, hoping for an easy game to boost my morale. I joined the Axis, then called them into a war with the USA. I successfully snaked Washington DC. Before quitting, I did the send in the zombies focus. In just 50 minutes, I got 3 achievements. Not that bad. That early success gave me a real motivation boost, so I decided to go for the Australia-Hungary achievement again. This one's been haunting me for a while. After an hour of playing, I finally beat Hungary, and for a second I felt on top of the world. But then I realized they had completed a focus giving them cores on Romania. I needed all Hungarian cores. There was no winning this one. An hour of exhausting effort, and the achievement slipped through my fingers again. Frustration was building, but I couldn't let it stop me. I had to push through the exhaustion. I continued with Manchukuo. I took down Japan and the Chinese United Front. After 4 hours, I'd gotten 4 achievements. It wasn't exactly what I needed to shake off the earlier defeat, but finally some okay progress. I turned the little focus that I had to South Africa. It didn't go as smoothly. My first few runs all failed. Still, each time I refined my strategy until 4 achievements had been unlocked. Crusader Kings 2, District 9, Rule Britannia, and I Am the Tongue Master. I was feeling great. Riding that high, I decided to go big. The contender for the hardest achievement in HOI4, Go Ahead Macau My Day. To pull it off, I needed to create a collaboration government in Macau and make sure it owned all core territory of China and Manchukuo. I started strong by annexing Brazil through the focus tree and defeating Spain. Then I joined the Axis in their war against the Allies. But without air or naval superiority, I couldn't beat the UK. And when the USA joined the Allies, it became clear I couldn't get the needed territories without a long war. So I quit, wasting 2 hours of my life. I switched to a way easier Portuguese achievement, BFFs, to get back on track and rebuild my confidence. Feeling refreshed, I tried the Macau achievement again. This time, the air over Britain was clear and their coast was completely undefended. I quickly dropped my paratroopers and took over the UK. Before ending the war, I called in Macau to make sure they got the Chinese cores in the peace deal. I also secured some land for myself. Next was Japan. I launched a naval invasion and surrounded Hiroshima. I kept deleting their divisions there, but China had already gained a lot of war score, so I couldn't get much. Still, by the end of the day, I had made good progress. Playing for 14 hours got me 12 achievements, bringing my total to 111. I was halfway there, but exhausted. My eyes hurt, my hands ached, and I barely slept. And when I did sleep, I dreamt about HOI4. I was glad to make progress, but I wasn't sure if I could keep going for 19 more days. I started the day by finishing the Portugal game. After beating Japan, I had to face Germany, since they were taking land in China. My well-prepared army and air force made the war surprisingly easy. But beating Germany wasn't enough. When China and the USA joined the Comintern, I pretty much had to take on the whole world. So after a long preparation, I declared war. My tanks melted the Soviets, and the USA didn't stand a chance. 6 hours since game start, I could give all the required land to my puppet, finally getting the achievement. It was exhausting, but worth it, I think. With that success, I once again felt that I could get the Australia Hunger achievement. After so many failures, it was starting to feel cursed. I'd had enough, so I switched to an earlier, easier version of HOI4, and just like that, what had been such a problem became simple. A quick paradrop and boom, achievement unlocked. After all those failed attempts, getting it this easily felt almost like a joke, but I wasn't complaining. The rest of the day was just AFK. I continued to get the remaining Australian achievements by invading Turkey. Then I declared war on Japan and researched nukes. I dropped one of them on them, giving me an achievement. 9.5 hours and I only got 4 achievements. It was starting to get to me. The progress was painfully slow and I was beginning to wonder if I'd taken on more than I could handle. By day 13, I'd once again hit a wall. The fatigue was constant and the playthrough started to blur together. I couldn't even keep track of which game I was playing anymore. I realized that if I kept going at this pace, you and I would lose our sanity. So I'll switch things up and condense the next few days. Trust me, my dear viewers, it's better for both of us. 4 hours struggling in Spain gave me 2 achievements. Then I got to Sweden. 7 hours. Nothing. 11.5 hours of grinding in total, and all I got was frustration. Every hour that passed made it sink in just how much work I still had ahead of me. I wanted to quit, but I knew I couldn't. Not now. The only way was forward. Day 14 started okay. I continued with the Sweden game and in just an hour I got 3 achievements. But the rest of the day didn't go as smoothly. 4 hours grinding as Mexico and Chile for nothing. By the end I managed to squeeze out a few Soviet and Finland achievements, making it 7 for the day. This was nothing compared to our earlier results, but right now it was huge. Day 15 was rough. I got a couple of easy Finland achievements early on, but then came a 10-hour slog with Chile for just 2 achievements. 11 hours and I got 5 achievements. I was completely burned out. Day 16 started with a bit of relief, 2 quick Norway achievements. But then it was back to the grind with Imperial Russia. After a couple of hours, I only added 2 more achievements. 7 hours for 4 achievements. I could feel myself falling behind, and the pressure was starting to increase. I couldn't ignore the numbers. I was behind schedule, and if I didn't pick up the pace, I wouldn't finish in time. Days 17 through 20 felt like torture, hour after hour, game after game. I barely moved forward. I picked up a few achievements, but it hurt. Every click took more energy than the last. By day 20, I'd reached 154 achievements, but I felt broken, empty, and lost. Quitting crossed my mind more than once, but I couldn't stop now. Not after everything I'd sacrificed. Day 21 had to be better. It had to be. Looking at my achievement tracker, the reality hit hard. The numbers were clear. 155 achievements done and 10 days left. I needed 6 achievements every day to finish in time. That would have been doable in the first week, but now every achievement was taking hours, and the easy ones were long gone. The buffer I built up early on had disappeared completely. If I couldn't find a way to speed things up, everything I'd put myself through, the lack of sleep, falling behind in school, the endless hours of grinding, would be for nothing. I kicked things off with a simple USA game. After expanding my industry and annexing Japan, I built military factories and took leadership of the Allies. And just like that, I had underpaid, undersexed and under Eisenhower and Arsenal of Democracy checked off the list. 2 achievements down. Next up, Sweden. I knocked out 2 quick achievements by sending volunteers to South Africa and rushing to Cape Town for the Magic School Bus. Then I won a civil war and waited a while for the return of the king. Both done in under an hour. Finally, I felt like I was getting somewhere. Egypt was next. I built trains and lend-leased them to the UK, then gained independence, unlocking free Egypt in under 30 minutes. The quick wins were adding up, and my confidence was coming back. I went back to the Brazil world conquest and released Welsh Argentina and went communist. One naval invasion of Wales later and the Dragon Rises was mine. I only played for 25 minutes. After days of slow progress, quick wins like this was exactly what I needed. Next up, the Netherlands. After uniting the Benelux, I teamed up with Germany to invade the UK. Capitulating them, removed their navy, and I grabbed 2 more achievements, putting the raid on the Medway to shame and united Netherlands. Feeling inspired by the Netherlands run, I jumped back into my Spain game from day 19. I requested Paris from Germany, unlocking Nobody Expects. It was a small victory, but it felt like proof that I was really back on track. Then I switched to Chile. Repeating the strategy I used with Spain, I requested Paris for King of What? And formed the Hispanic Alliance for Hispanics of the World Unite. 2 achievements after less than 2 hours. It felt like the early days again, with achievements stacking up quickly. Last up, I played Yugoslavia. After a paradrop of France, I declared war on the UK, managing to paradrop them too. Then I declared war on a bunch of miners, and when the war ended, I got all of them in the peace deal. I defeated Italy and then the Soviets. In the end, I unlocked Dracula's Revenge and Yugoslavia. After playing for 2 hours, with 2 more achievements unlocked, the tide had turned. After days of defeat, day 21 was different. Achievements started falling in place, and for the first time in weeks, hope came back. Sure, I was still exhausted, but now I believed that I could actually finish this. After yesterday's success, I felt like I had a fighting chance. The momentum was back, but day 22 reminded me that this challenge isn't letting up. Time is running out, and every achievement is taking longer than expected. The pressure is building. I started the day with Yugoslavia. I joined the Axis, declared war on the Allies, and after just 5 minutes, the Balkan power cake was mine. It gave me a small motivation boost, but I couldn't get too comfortable. Next, I played as the Soviet Union, aiming for Race for Germany. It took a little over an hour, and the whole time I was watching the clock, feeling the minutes slip away. I got the achievement, but that sense of urgency was slowly creeping in. I continued with a Bulgaria playthrough, and it was brutal. 6 attempts and almost 7 hours of frustration. One run collapsed after 2 hours because of a bug, but I kept pushing. After several hours of pain, I unlocked Balkan Problem Solved and Prussia of the Balkans. This wasn't about skill, it was just RNG. After nearly 8 hours, I managed to unlock 4 achievements, bringing my total to 172. Every one of them felt like a struggle, but honestly, the real fight now is against the clock. With just a few days left, the pressure is really starting to hit. After the grind of day 22, I had to keep pushing, but time was slipping through my fingers. The day began with the Netherlands, trying for treading the narrow path. I turned communist, joined the Axis, and spent nearly 2 hours waiting until I finally hit 1945, giving me the achievement. Next, I switched to Estonia. Thankfully, this one was a lot quicker. I turned fascist, annexed Finland, and with Germany's help, took out Sweden, Norway and Denmark. SD Scandi was mine. Then came Chile. I went down the Mapuche route, conquered all of South America, and then faced the brutal grind that is defeating late-game allies. The war with the USA and UK dragged on for almost 4 hours, after which I finally liberated enough territory to unlock America Decolonized. 3 playthroughs, 3 achievements, and 6.5 hours played. I've brought my total to 155, but every achievement is taking longer and costing more energy. It's clear that the final stretch is going to be the hardest yet. Day 24 was all about pushing through. Achievements are still coming, but it's getting harder to keep up. There's no time to slow down. I need to make every hour count. I started with the USA, going for history repeated itself. I went down the communist tree, which sparked a civil war. Winning the war only took about 25 minutes, and just like that, the achievement was mine. A good start. Next up was Bulgaria. I got a regency council in power with the child as leader. Declaring war on Yugoslavia got me. Now this is getting childish. But the war dragged on much longer than anticipated. I thought I needed to win it to get the next achievement, but after wasting hours, I realized I could just create collaboration governments. And finally, I got Master Puppeteer, but it took over 4 hours. I went back to an old Ethiopia game. Taking inspiration from Bulgaria, I released collaboration governments to grab This Time for Africa after about an hour. The final playthrough of the day was Finland, and this one was rough. 4 attempts in total, aiming for no one crosses the finish line and finish him. The first few tries ended in failure. My lines got broken, or I was hit by a naval invasion I didn't see coming. But on the last try, I stacked defensive bonuses and built mountaineers, finally holding the line. And when Germany attacked, I was able to push them back and grab both achievements. It took over 4 hours, but I finally got there. After nearly 10 hours of gameplay, I managed to unlock 6 achievements, bringing the total up to 181. I'm still moving forward, but time is running out fast. With the end in sight, day 25 was going to be intense. I had 2 big goals for the day, but the stakes were higher than ever. I started with Colombia, aiming for My Ships Don't Lie. I beat naval dockyards and then just waited. Let's just say it wasn't the most exciting achievement. Next was the achievement I'd been dreading. Hardly Anything Serves. It's notorious for being one of the hardest achievements in the game. I knew this run would be long and grueling, but I didn't expect just how chaotic it would get. I started by going down the Ottoman path, which triggered a civil war. I came out on top and secured nobody's business but the Turks. But that was just the beginning. I declared war on Greece. The narrow front lines made it impossible to push. My only option was a naval invasion of Athens, which, after some resistance, gave me the win. But things went downhill fast from there. I declared war on Yugoslavia, but they joined the Axis, and suddenly I was up against Germany and Italy. With Bulgaria in the Axis, but not yet in the war, my position was dangerously exposed. I had no choice but to sacrifice Greece and pull back. It felt like a setback, but it kept me alive. At this point I finally had my first tank ready, but as if on cue, Bulgaria joined the war, and they hit my lines hard, forcing me to retreat even further, praying I could keep the front stable long enough to build my strength. Finally, with 2 tanks in action, the tide began to turn. I launched a counterattack, encircling Axis divisions wherever I could. Slowly but surely, Bulgaria and Romania fell. I pushed through and capitulated Yugoslavia. Italy had already fallen to the Allies, and with Germany's defeat, the war was over. The peace still gave me some good territories, but I wasn't done yet. With the Axis out of the way, it was time to take on the Allies. I sat in place for what felt like forever, building up my air force to match theirs. When the push finally came, it was swift and decisive. I stormed through Italy and France, wiping out everything in my path. Along the way, I stumbled upon an unbelievable encirclement. Over 1 million allied soldiers destroyed in an instant. I thought I was hallucinating from exhaustion, but no, it was real. Just when I thought I had everything under control, the Soviet Union declared war. I was spread too thin, and they smashed through my lines, and I lost massive amounts of territory. It felt like everything was falling apart. Then I realized I didn't need to win everywhere. I just needed capitals, so I went all in on naval invasions. First, I hit the UK, capturing London. Then I moved to Japan, securing Tokyo, and with that, I unlocked hardly anything serves. It was a relief to finally finish, but it had taken nearly 7 hours. After 9.5 hours of gameplay, I secured 4 achievements, bringing my total to 185. The day was long, the pressure was high, but I made it through. The clock is still ticking, and the challenge isn't over yet. But today was a reminder that I can still push through, even when it feels like everything is against me. Waking up on day 26, I felt the pressure and urgency, but there was still a flicker of hope. I have 185 achievements. With 26 left, I needed at least 6 today. So if I could grab a few easy achievements, I'd be back on track. I started with an AFK achievement to build some momentum. Peter's Pride. It was simple. Sit back, wait, and let it come. 17 minutes later, I got it. It's a start, but it doesn't feel like enough. I should be doing more. I went back to a previous Norway playthrough. 3 hours in, nothing. No breakthroughs, no achievements, just frustration. I kept telling myself to push through, but 4 hours later, I had nothing to show for it. 1 achievement in 4 hours. My total is at 186, and I'm in serious trouble. This isn't just a bad day, it's a disaster. I'm exhausted, and the pressure to make up for lost time is crushing. I can't help thinking back to day 1, when everything seemed possible. Man, I had no idea what I was in for, but I've come too far to give up now. I wake up completely drained. I was already stressed before, but with the previous day only adding 1 achievement, I don't know if I can do this. 25 achievements left. I have to lock in, ignore my exhaustion, and try my best. I went back to Norway, finally getting the Norway HOI4 achievement after 2 hours. I then started a Czechoslovakia game, aiming for checkmate, which required me to hold Canberra while being at war with the Allies. I turned fascist and tried forming Austria-Hungary. First attempt failed when Austria and Romania joined the Allies. Exactly what I didn't want. Second try, I switched to the good old paratrooper strat. France fell after losing their major cities. Britain was different though. After 1 paratrooper landed in an undefended port, I rushed in reinforcements. Bad move. The British crushed my troops as they landed. Since I couldn't reorg, 200,000 men were gone in minutes. I rage quit. The third try was different. The British defenses were weaker, letting my troops land properly, and finally I secured what I needed in the peace deal. Canberra was mine, now I just had to get into a war with the Allies to finish the achievement. With no time to waste, I moved on to the British Raj. 2 AFK achievements. I became Spy Master of the Allies, then deployed a nuke. I had 1 UK achievement left. Be communist and puppet the USA. Pretty straightforward, but very time consuming. I turned communist, then I built up my air force and got some good tanks. With that, I defeated the USA. 2 hours for 1 achievement. By this point, I played for around 8 hours, and like the past few days, I was exhausted. However, I needed to achieve more, so I squeezed 1 more achievement into the day, beating the Allies as Germany in the 1939 start date, securing "Don't die for your country." Today was the push I needed. 9 hours of gameplay, 6 achievements unlocked, and a glimmer of hope that I can still finish this challenge. The clock is ticking and the pressure is at an all-time high. Tomorrow has to be another big day. There's no turning back now. 2 days left. I've crossed so many milestones, but there's still a mountain ahead. Every achievement now feels like a huge victory, and the margin of failure is thin. With so little time left, I can't afford any mistakes. I started with HOI4's most notorious achievement, 30 minutes of hell. 2 attempts failed quickly. On the 3rd, I got the hang of it, and honestly, it was very easy. After an hour of holding, I got the achievement. Then a quick Argentina game, where I defeated Spain, followed by Paraguay, where in just 8 minutes I got Revenge for the Triple Alliance. Then I switched to a previous version, to get Varsavo Waltz and Shaken Not Stirred, since they weren't working in the current version. It took 25 minutes to get both. Just 1 day left after this. The pressure is unreal. Every move matters more than ever. After almost a month of playing non-stop, it's all coming down to these final hours. There's no more time to second guess or restart. I've been through hell, but with the end in sight, it feels both close and impossibly far. Today needs to be perfect. 12 achievements left. I continued the Mexico playthrough, going for 2 achievements. The new home of the revolution and Mi Casa es Tu Casa. After an hour, both achievements were secured. It was a relief, but with the clock ticking, I had to jump straight into the next playthrough. Turkey was next, and oh my god, it was infuriating. I was trying to get We're Putting the Band back together, and it was pure RNG. Again and again I retried, but every time Germany and Hungary chose the wrong paths. It was extremely frustrating watching the limited time I had left be dependent on RNG. But finally on the 8th attempt, I got what I needed. 2 hours had been wasted for a trivial achievement. I had 1 South African achievement left, Crusader Kings. I needed to turn fascist and take Jerusalem. The first part was simple enough. The second part, however, was a bit trickier. To have any chance against the UK, I began by taking on Portugal. In the beginning, I couldn't make any progress, but with a few powerful mountaineers, I took control of Portugal's African colonies. I needed a navy to reach Portugal, so I started production of some cheap subs. After a while, I could get naval supremacy, and with 1 naval invasion, I was close enough to go into mainland Portugal. The odds were slim. I only had 6 mountaineers facing off against the entire Portuguese army. Luckily, they were caught off guard and I could spread quickly. Portugal is thin and the mountaineers are good, so with caution I continued pushing, and finally Portugal capitulated. I now had the capacity to expand my army and invade the UK. Bit by bit I pushed further north. Eventually, I reached Egypt and was able to get Jerusalem, unlocking the achievement. Another 2 hours spent on just 1 achievement. Next up was Ethiopia, with 2 achievements left, a Red Sea and Crusader Kings 4. The second one was pure RNG. You just wait for the UK to hopefully give you Jerusalem after boarding the train. My first try ended in reaction, but on the second try, the UK agreed. 1 more achievement down. The Red Sea was next. After turning communist and defeating Italy, I quickly took out Saudi Arabia and Yemen. But the real challenge was the UK. With only 30 factories in 1942, I needed time to build up. 2 years later, I nearly doubled my industry and assembled a solid force of mountaineer divisions. Using the same strategy that worked with South Africa, I gradually pushed through the Allied defenses until I controlled the Red Sea. Another achievement secured. The victories were adding up, but each one was taking more out of me than the last. I could feel my focus starting to slip. It took a short breather with Sweden. I had failed at getting en svensk tiger earlier because it wasn't working with no step back. Rolling back to an older version solved the problem, but meant 90 minutes of waiting. Each passing minute felt wasted as the deadline loomed closer. I had one last attempt in me for the day, Siberian Tiger. After a month of failed runs, this time felt different. All those hours had taught me what worked. My mountaineer divisions were the best I'd ever built, and for once everything was going according to plan. Fighting alongside the Axis, we pushed the Soviets to the brink. Their surrender progress hit 99%. Just one more victory point and I'd finally have the achievement that had beaten me on day one. I concentrated every mountaineer division on getting that final percent. Then I saw it. The German lines was breaking. As Germany fell, the Soviets regained their strength. The achievement that was literally 1% away vanished. Coming this close, only to fail, hit harder than all my previous attempts combined. Not just an hour wasted, but the realization that tomorrow was my last shot. One final day to get the achievement that had already beaten me so many times. This is it. Everything's been leading up to today. I'm barely holding it together. I'm sleep deprived and I have no motivation to keep going. But I can't quit. Not yet. There's still 5 achievements left, and if I mess up now, everything I've done, all 300 hours of effort, goes down the drain. As soon as I woke up, I jumped right back into the Communist China playthrough from day 8. The plan was simple. Get my general up to a level 9 field marshal. He was already level 6, so it was just a matter of grinding XP. I started prepping for a war with the Allies by taking out Guangxi clique, then getting some tanks built. I was ready for a war. I had 10 tanks assigned to the level 6 general, and I quickly defeated British Malaya, encircling as many divisions as I could, since it gives the most XP to the general. Then I moved into the British Raj, once again encircling as much as possible. When I was done, my general was level 8. To get that final XP, I invaded the UK from Germany. I encircled London and repeatedly destroyed the newly deployed divisions there, until I got to level 9. Then I just promoted the general to a field marshal, getting the first of the 5 achievements. With 4 achievements left, the pressure was really starting to weigh on me, and just when I needed to stay focused, I had to go to school. Luckily, I only had 2 classes, but it felt like every minute I spent away from the game was a minute wasted. I couldn't stop thinking about what still had to be done, and the stress kept building with every passing second. The moment I got home, I rushed to my computer and booted up a Romania run. I'd already failed the Death or Dishonor Cake achievement twice, and the thought of failing it a 3rd time was eating at me. This time, I had to make it work. There was no room for error. I built up my army and puppeted Bulgaria, then took Hungary. When Czechoslovakia refused to split with me and Germany, we went to war. My mountaineers crushed them, and soon after, Yugoslavia fell too. My paratroopers dropped into an undefended UK, and the war with the Allies ended. I joined Germany's attack on the Soviets. My mountaineers led the charge. As the Soviets crumbled, I secured both the Polish and Soviet states I needed. 2nd achievement done, but 3 more still loomed ahead. Achievements were feeling like a monumental task at this point, but I had no choice but to keep pushing. I switched to Peru for True Condor Legion. This one was fairly straightforward, taking only 40 minutes. But by now, even the simplest achievements felt like a marathon. But luckily there's only 2 achievements left now. The second to last achievement seemed simple. Win a defensive war without losing territory. I provoked Germany, watching their opinion of me plummet until they finally declared war. But even with France and Italy backing me, we couldn't push. Then Germany took Austria and suddenly poured through my undefended Italian border. 30 minutes wasted in seconds. Getting desperate, I switched to non-historical with a new plan. Bait the fascist side of Germany's civil war into attacking, then let them loose. 3 failed attempts later, something felt wrong. The achievement should have triggered. A quick search confirmed my fear. It was broken in the current version. Rolling back to an older version, the same strategy worked in 10 minutes. I'd wasted precious time, and now only one achievement remained. The final achievement. We're ending where this all began. My rush on Shibei-Sanma fails instantly. China puppets them before I can strike. No time to waste on failed strategies anymore. Restart. Second attempt. When Xinjiang joins the Chinese United Front, I see an opportunity. This isn't the same Tanituva that failed day 1. A month of grinding has taught me what works. Instead of cheap cavalry divisions, I deployed 3 elite mountaineers. Every push counts. Every tile matters. After 40 minutes, China falls and I secure a puppet with 5 million manpower, solving our biggest weakness. I start building up, preparing to betray the Soviets. Japan declares war. My 3 divisions try to snake for supply hubs, but overextend. One mistake and my entire army is encircled. Everything's lost. Now I face the hardest choice of the challenge. Restart with just 2 hours left, or try to rebuild what's lost. I'll go with the first option. It'll either save everything, or waste what little time I have left. The final attempt. The same strategy, but faster and cleaner. Shibei-Sanma falls quickly. A good start. Then the Soviet Union erupts into civil war. Mongolia, which is usually a big problem, is suddenly vulnerable. Without Soviet protection, they're even weaker than me. For the first time in many attempts, I see a path to victory. Time is running out. It's now 10 past 11, and my cursor is hovering over the declare war button. One click could undo a month of sleepless nights. My heart's pounding, I take a deep breath and click. Weakened by the civil war and having the Germans on their western front, I could make quick progress, securing a crucial supply hub. I glance at the German front. My heart stops. They're crushing the SSR, but the Allies are pushing deep into their territory. If Germany falls, there's no time for another attempt. Everything relies on them holding, and I can't do anything to help. Then a miracle. Japan joins the Axis. They can take Vladivostok and its crucial victory points. Finally something goes our way. Germany takes Moscow, but they're still losing ground in the west. Every notification makes me flinch, terrified of seeing Germany has capitulated. A month of work could vanish because of the AI. I can't play it safe anymore. I launch a desperate push west. The front line stretch dangerously thin. One mistake, one wrong move, and it's over. But tile by tile, we advance. My front line has reached its limit. Germany is barely holding. There's 20 minutes left on the clock. The choice is clear. Risk everything for a final push, or watch the challenge die slowly. I order my army to go deeper, knowing one Soviet counterattack could end it all. The war screen reads 99% towards Soviet capitulation. Yesterday, this was where everything fell apart. But not this time. Not when we're this close. My heart rate is through the roof. I could be pushed back and defeated at any moment. The SSR capitulated. I can't believe it. I actually did it. After everything, I won the war. For a moment, I just stare at the screen. After 30 days and countless failures, we actually did it. With 7 minutes left, I open the decisions tab one last time, and the final achievement pops up. It's over. Sitting here completely drained, I think about what it costs. My grades took a hit, my health suffered, and I barely slept for a month. All for some Steam achievements. But looking at that full achievement counter, I realized it was never really about the achievements. It was about proving something to myself. That I could fail dozens of times and still get back up. That I could push through when everything seemed impossible. That I could finish what I started, no matter the cost. 30 days, 267 hours, all for this one moment. It was worth it. Don't even think about leaving it, unless you're going to play War Thunder for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox or mobile, by using my link in the pinned comment or description. New players and those who haven't played in 6 months will get a massive bonus pack, including some premium vehicles and other great stuff. So get it now, or you'll miss it. I also want to thank my Patreons and YouTube members, Stipe, Ivan the God and Maccabeus. I love you.